Slammy, Agro, Slammy, Agro, Slammy, hey. You already know what's up. What's that? Another home run. But you know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome, episode 602 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fadden with you here. It is May 29th, 2024. Padres, they take 2 out of 3 from the Miami Marlins, but if you were to listen to people on social media, it would seem like they got swept. Yes, today was not a pretty game. There is one particular player that it seems like all of social media is hating on right now, which is Manny Machado. And there are certain things that I definitely understand about that. And we're definitely going to get into his struggles. Mike Shildt got into a little bit of a back and forth with AJ Cassavell. And obviously we know that he already had a back and forth already with, actually, it's been Dennis, I think it's been Kevin, and it's been AJ. So really the big three beat writers there, they've all gotten into it a little bit with Shildt. I'm not saying like a yelling match or anything like that, but some comments today, which I will get more into my thoughts when I get to this today. But I kind of buy what Mike Shildt's selling. Like, he does have points in what he did say today. But first, I did want to get to the 3 games in this series. Obviously, the first 2 games were better to talk about. Game 2 of this series obviously was the best. If you want to join the show, click that link pinned up at the top of the chat. I will obviously get to the comments, the questions in the chat. If you want to support the channel, you can use that super chat button. That is greatly appreciated. Let's start with today. It was a 9-1 loss to the 20-37, now 20-37 Marlins. Padres, they are 30-29. And I think that's where part of the frustration comes from Padres fans, that the Padres, okay, they've won 7 of their last 9 series, but they're 30-29. They're not 8 games over 500 or something like that. Darvish, he leaves with the hamstring injury. That was one of the storylines from this game, obviously. I believe Shildt said after the game that it was his right hamstring, and they were doing tests. So that's really the update there. From what I saw, I wasn't watching pitch by pitch today, but I did see some of it, and I did see the run scoring plays when Darvish was on the mound. And I'll just say this. The first one, Tatis, he tried jumping, leaping for the ball, couldn't get to it. I don't think that ball was hit that hard. And then another one, Crony probably should have stopped that ball, and he didn't. Then Manny makes a throwing error. Bad day for him for the most part. He made a really good, ridiculously good, signature Manny Machado play as well that I want to applaud him for. But at the same time, couple of errors. I think one only counted, but throwing error, and then one that he probably, it's Manny Machado, so should have gotten. I don't know if it hit the lip of the grass or whatever, but still not a great day for Manny. The inning continued on, I think, that second kind of hiccup there defensively for Manny. And that was a big inning from the Miami Marlins. And obviously they get the blowout, 9-1. Eno De Los Santos didn't pitch very well either. There wasn't a pitcher today that really stood out as like, oh, great job today. Burrito, okay, yeah. Struck out 2, went 3 1/3. I'm appreciative of him doing that before an off day. Can kind of give the bullpen a couple days off, most of those guys. But Eno De Los Santos gives up the home run. Cole gives up 3 earned runs. And the whole piling on Manny thing today, from what I saw, I get it. He had 1 hit, which was not that impactful because the game was over by then. Went 1 for 4. And you look at his overall numbers this year, 651 OPS, 237 average, and no doubt he needs to be better. I'll be the first one to tell you, and I'm not the first one because I know that plenty of people have said that he needs to be better. He will say that he needs to be better. But I think the piling on is a little bit excessive. Yes. Was today a bad game for Manny? Yes. Did he make mistakes defensively? Yes. But, I feel like the piling on is for the entire year, and they see a bad game and then they pile on. But it's not just about this game, it's about this year. And if it's about the year, okay. If it's about the game, I think we're being a little bit excessive. Because go watch, if you're going to watch the highlights of this game, I'm sorry, there were a lot of balls that were hit hard, and there were a lot of things that happened while the Padres lost, and it's not all on Manny. He's making a bunch of money, and so if you want to really criticize Manny and focus in on Manny, I guess that's understandable. But how about let's look at the offense as a whole today? They went 0 for with runners in scoring position. They left 7 guys on base. Is that all Manny? No, it's not. So I guess that's where I'm coming from there. But again, I will say Manny needs to be better, of course. I just thought all I saw today, pretty much during this game, was people wanting to pile on Manny, and it's like, okay. So some of the stuff, it's like, I guess we forget who Manny is. I get it. Last year was disappointing. Let's remember, earlier this year, he said he was not going to be 100% essentially until probably next season. He's coming off the surgery. And I don't think he's going to make excuses for his poor play so far this year. He will say he needs to be better, as I have said. But it's not just Manny. I guess that's my point here. Ha-Seong Kim has the homer. Great. Good to see him homer. Overall, he needs to be better. I mean, going into the year, what did we expect from Ha-Seong Kim? We were putting him, I think we were lumping him in with Bogarts, Tatis, and Manny, right? Because of how good he was last year. And I think we saw Crony on the outside, definitely saw Profar on the outside. Arise wasn't on the team yet. Solano wasn't on the team yet. Merrill, I think we had expectations, but it was kind of wait and see with him, right? But Kim, I think he was up there with that group, and he's hitting ninth now. Has a 693 OPS. So I think we should get on Ha-Seong Kim as well if we're going to get on Manny. Jackson Merrill, his OPS is down to 675. You want that to be better after the start that he had. I know he's not a power hitter, but I think he'd like it to be a little bit better. Campy's OPS is below 700. So there's other guys here that we can get on. Tatis, I'm liking what I'm seeing, this series, or last couple of games, really, where he's changing. He's trying to he's searching at the plate. I think that's pretty obvious. He is searching at the plate. So hopefully he's starting to turn it around there. Profar still being jerks in Profar. A 916 OPS from him this year. Where would they be without jerks and Profar? And getting back to Manny again, no doubt he has to be better. And you want Tatis to be better. Obviously. You want multiple guys to be better in this lineup. It's not just Manny. And if you want to say that, you're trying to guard Manny and he's a big boy and he can defend himself, I understand. Yeah, he can defend himself. I just want to be fair with a bunch of guys on the team that should be better. So, I mean, that was really today. With Darvish, you hope that it's not an IL stint because that means that we're going to have to see more starts probably from Vasquez, from Brito maybe. And you obviously want Darvish on the mound. I know that Yankee outing wasn't great. Obviously, the home run derby inning that we think about, right? And then today ends up, giving up the lead, obviously, before he exits this game. But that 5-start stretch before that, he was dominant, wasn't giving up any runs. So hopefully that's the type of Darvish that the Padres can get after he is done dealing with this hamstring thing. It was neck tightness, right? And now hamstring. What are we going to do? We're going to hit every body part and hopefully it's not an arm. We got to remember he's up there in age, obviously, for a baseball player, not for a human being, but for a baseball player. And this is what's going to happen. Your body's going to break down. We know Darvish works his butt off, prepares really well. I assume that he takes care of his body really well. Post-game, in between starts, we know that he can adjust and he's always willing to learn. So I'm not questioning like his work ethic or his care or anything like that. But just as, more wear and tear is on those tires. Can't go get a new body. This is the body that you have. So sometimes this just happens. So hopefully Darvish can get back as soon as possible. I mean, as soon as possible as that hamstring is good to go. Don't want him back rushing it. If he can't make the Angels start, you can't make the Angels start. But don't, compromise future outings just by, okay, I want to get back for the Angels start. Like, no, it's okay. So that's really the thoughts I got on today's day game. Disappointing that they couldn't get the sweep. I think that's part of the point when we get to the Shildt comments and some of the questions. It's okay, you're winning series, but you haven't been able to get a bunch of sweeps. You're winning series, but I think most teams, if you win 7 out of 9 series, there's a couple sweeps in there. And that's where we would see the Padres be 5 games over 500, and instead they're a game over 500, Game 2 in this series, Padres win 4-0. This was obviously the best game of the series. Profar with a homer. Came through with another RBI, made it 3-0. I believe Solano, 3-hit game from him, an RBI from him. His OPS is over 1,000 with the Padres, so got to give credit to Preller on that. By the way, I did put out a tweet today, and I could include Arise, I could include Merrill. There's some guys that aren't making really any money that are on this team that we can give credit to AJ Preller and, the Padres front office, whoever helps make these decisions. We can give credit there. But these were the main guys that I pointed out, particularly because of what happened last night. That's just where my thought was. Profar, Solano, Estrada, and Waldron are making a combined base salary of a little over 3.4, almost $3.5 million this season. Their combined F4 through the Padres' first 58 games is 4.6. And I didn't put this out on Twitter because I'm frankly tired of the negativity on there. But Cronenworth, Tatis, and Manny, their combined F4 is lower than that, which is unacceptable, obviously, when those are 3 huge pieces of this Padres team. Now, Croney, he's been better than Tatis and Manny for the most part this season. So it's really Tatis and Manny that's the unacceptable, and Manny's been worse than Tatis. So if you're going to pick one, yeah, it's Manny. But really, I put that tweet out to highlight some of the work that AJ has done this season. Bringing in Solano, bringing in Estrada, a waiver claim, and look what he's doing now, making Padres in Major League Baseball history, 13 consecutive strikeouts. Matt Waldron, sticking with him, and Ruben Niebla, the work that they've done with the knuckleball and using that knuckleball, giving Matt Waldron that confidence to continue to use that knuckleball. And Jurickson Profar, $1 million. I don't think AJ expected this out of Profar, but I think you still got to give credit to AJ for bringing Profar back on, $1 million. And the Padres just as a whole making him comfortable here in San Diego so that it seemed like it was a no-brainer for him to come back and sign with the Padres. But yeah, over 4 F4, and you're going to take that. What's like the $7-8 million is worth 1 win above replacement, something like that, and it's 4.6 through 58 games. I don't know what it is now through 59, but this was entering the series finale against the Marlins. 4.6, and they're making less than $4 million. Like that's nuts production when you think about it from those Padres players. So props to AJ, props to the Padres, props to everybody with that there. And, really the story yesterday was Waldron and Jeremiah Estrada. And I said a bunch about it on the post-game reaction. So this is really for the podcast audience or for those that are watching this that did not see my post-game reaction. But Waldron, no walks. All of his 8 strikeouts last night were with the knuckleball. Used the knuckleball over 50% of the time. His ERA is down to 4.26. He's been great for, Matt Waldron standards, for fifth starter standards over the last 4 outings. This was his best outing in the big leagues. 7 innings, no runs, no walks, 8 punch outs. You're not really going to get better than that from Matt Waldron. But Dodgers, Braves are a couple of teams that he's had to face in his last 4 outings, and he's kept the Padres in those games. And last night, he didn't just keep the Padres in the game. He was a huge reason why the Padres were able to shut out the Miami Marlins last night in this game. He had things working. The ball was dancing. There was one where umpire ruled it a foul ball, and it was not. Swung right through that pitch, and it went to the backstop. Like Higgy had a hard time receiving the ball a little bit and when the knuckleball's dancing like that, that can be a good thing. When you're in the strike zone as much as Matt Waldron was in the strike zone, it could be a really good thing because you have 91, and then you have knuckleball that you could go to. And so it just makes it really difficult, especially the knuckleball, obviously, when those Marlins hitters have not faced the knuckleball. I believe Josh Bell was the only guy that had faced a knuckleballer in that lineup, or at least had faced Matt Waldron. I don't know if he faced Waldron, but a knuckleballer going into tonight or last night. So they just hadn't seen it. It's one thing to talk about it, but I think Skip Schumacher was saying this as well after the game last night. It's another thing to go in the box and see it. And there's just nothing like that. So it was tough. It was tough for a little bit inexperienced Miami Marlins team. But the ball strike ratio, I mean, 67 of his 85 pitches were strikes last night. That's ridiculous for a majority knuckleball pitcher. And Waldron, he was doing interviews in spring training and beginning of the year saying like he throws a knuckleball, but he doesn't want to be viewed as a knuckleball pitcher. And it's like, use the knuckleball more. If it's working, use it, embrace it. I'm sure that he wants credit for the other pitches that he has, and so maybe that's where he's coming from there. But if you're going to have success like this, throwing the knuckleball that much, keep throwing it. If I was him, I'd embrace being known as the knuckleball pitcher. Because I don't care what I'm called if I am working. If what I am doing is well, I'm pitching well, the results are good, call me whatever you want. I'll be known for whatever you want because I'm producing in the big leagues. And I'm pitching pretty well against the Dodgers, the Braves. I know it's the Marlins, but still 7 shutout innings, no walks, 8 punch-outs. I don't care what team you're facing. It's still a big league team. That's pretty darn good. And then Jeremiah Estrada, 13 consecutive strikeouts. I was laughing sitting on the couch last night watching that 9th inning. 11th, 12th, 13th consecutive strikeouts. Pitches way out of the strike zone. I think Jake Berger was, I want to say, the second batter of the inning. Way out of the strike zone. And I think Jeremiah calls it the chitter. The changeup splitter that he has. Nasty. I think that's what both of those first and third strikeouts, or maybe he threw a slider in there, but it was just nasty. Off the plate, it's so nasty that those guys will swing off the plate at it. And I want to say he got behind in one of the counts at least, but got back right in it, and then you got 2 strikes, and boom, there's a strikeout. He's so freaking entertaining to watch. And I know it's easy to be entertained when someone's striking out 13 in a row, but if you take out the strikeouts, just the stuff, he's got 98, and then he can go to the splitter. You know, like, I think he has a slider. When you can have that devastating of a combination there, and you can throw for strikes, obviously, like, 'cause I think command was a little bit of an issue before he was with the Padres. Man, I don't know what else to say. It's freaking fun to watch. And this is another one where you give props to AJ. A waiver claim. And he has made himself a name in all of Major League Baseball now. You pay attention to relievers in baseball. Who are the 2 that people are probably talking about? Mason Miller with the A's and Jeremiah Estrada with our San Diego Padres. That's amazing. So credit to Jeremiah. The couple arm injuries. He had a bout with COVID that I learned about recently. So really props to everyone in that situation. So a dub yesterday, a win on Memorial Day, 2-1. That one was not as sexy, if you will. Solano had a homer, made it 1-0. Chisholm had a homer, 1-1. And then in the bottom of the 6th, Crony walked with the bases loaded, and that brought in the go-ahead and the game-winning run, ultimately. Made it 2-1. Padres had a lot of opportunities to come through, 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position, left 10 guys on base. So if that's where people are frustrated as well, like they say, well, Ben, they took 2 out of 3, but it's not like it was a pretty offensive game. It was actually a bad offensive game in game 1, and then today they get blown out, so I'm not really happy right now. And if that's where you stand, okay, that's understandable. But it also is a results-based business, and the Padres did take 2 out of 3. And so at the end of the day, that's what I care about the most. Keep winning series, and that's what – if you keep winning series, then ultimately I'm probably going to be happy. But yeah, 0 for 10, you're probably not going to win very many games doing that, but the Padres found a way. They took advantage of Tim Anderson crapping the bed defensively at shortstop in that inning, a couple of errors, moving base, putting the ball in play. That was the big thing for Monday, right? Put the ball in play, and good things can happen. Good things won't happen all the time, but guess what? You can't get the E6 to end an inning, or what should have ended an inning. You can't get that if you strike out. If you put a big hack, you can't get that. If you put the ball in play, there's the opportunity. You can force them to make a good throw, force them to field the baseball, force them, if it's a swinging bunt, force the pitcher to come field it and throw you out at first. Little things like that can make a difference, and it made a difference on Monday, no doubt about that. And so, I mean, ultimately, I was happy that the Padres won that baseball game. The bullpen, no runs, Morahone, Matsui, Suarez, Michael King, 5 innings, 1 earned run, 1 walk. Obviously kept the Padres in that game. Yeah, gave up a homer, and that's been a problem for Michael King this season. But you go 5 it, you want him to go more, and I think Michael King was willing to go more in that outing, by the way. I think he had a little bit more in the tank, only 89 pitches, but the Padres decided to go in another direction, and they ended up making the right call because no runs were allowed. What was that? 4 combined strikeouts in those last 4 innings of work from the Padres bullpen. Robert Suarez, 16 saves. That was his 16th save on the season. And you might be frustrated that, Trevor Rogers came in 5 1/3, 1 earned run. Braxton Garrett today, 5 innings, 1 earned run. And you're like, the Padres should be doing more off of those guys. And that's understandable. Yeah, I'm frustrated a little bit as well with this offense. But I'm more on the side of, I'm looking at, did they win these baseball games? And they won 2 out of 3. And that's what I care about the most. I know fans, not just fans, but beat writers as well, because I've noticed this. It feels like we want to take a big picture look at everything. And sometimes, at least for me, I'm going to sit here and I'm not going to take a big picture look at everything. It's okay to do it, but everything, I'm just not going to, I don't feel like doing that today. I'm not going to take a big picture look at everything. Does this team need to be better offensively? The answer is yes. Would I like some sweeps? And they're probably going to need to go on a run at some point? Yes. But, and I'll get to Shilt's comments here. I mean, I'm sorry, but or maybe I'm not sorry actually, but I'm more on his side, I think, today after the comments that he made today because I've disagreed with Shildt. I have. The whole outplayed thing about the Rockies when they got swept, I was on the other side. I was not on Shilt's side. So we'll get to that. But just overall, it could be better, but they took 2 out of 3. I think we should be happy that they got a series win. They took 2 out of 3. The pitching has been pretty darn good. And so I'm taking the positives from this. And yeah, I think it's pretty captain obvious that Manny needs to be better. I'm not going to keep pounding that point. We already know. I'm not going to sit here and talk about that for a half an hour. We know that it needs to be better. But guess what? He's here for a decade. We're going to have to live with that. And I say that like I hate Manny. I don't. I like watching Manny play baseball. Some maybe don't, but I like I'd like him to run down the line a little bit faster sometimes. But I like watching him play baseball. I'm glad that he is a San Diego Padre. He is a good baseball player. And he has the talent to turn it around. We'll see if he does. But I'm sorry. I'm just not going to sit here and talk about Manny for a half an hour. All right, Carter, I see him. He wants to join the show. What's up, man?
What's up? Long time. How you been doing, man?
Doing well. How about you?
Okay, dude, I'm so happy because I freaking love Jeremiah Estrada. Like, he's like my favorite reliever this year. Like, I love the energy he shows on the field. Like, it's amazing, dude. It is awesome. And then a couple things. So we play the Royals this weekend, and this is pretty cool. The second, like June 2nd, that day is my birthday. So I think, pretty sure I'm going to go down there with a couple of my buddies and go to the game. They're all Royals fans, of course, and I'm the only Padres fan, but that's exciting. And then I was going to reach out to you Because you remember the Rockies game that we lost, the afternoon game?
Yeah.
I was gonna reach out to you and be like, "Hey, I'm going to the game." Like I went to that game that day because we flew to San Diego, but I was sad because I couldn't find Gaglione Bros. I mean, I know you talk about where it is in your show, but I was like, I don't know where it is. But
Yeah, that was so Gaglione Bros is down the third baseline, field level
gotcha,
down the third baseline, and I think they have one in the upper deck, but that it should be open because games are sold out. Sometimes it's not open on the upper deck, but there's that one down the third baseline. Um, and then there's, I believe, only a fry stand, or at least it used to be there. I don't know if it's there now, but behind the plate, field level, it's there. And that's I believe garlic fries pretty much only there, and then everything else down the third baseline, field level. That's the main spot for them.
gotcha.
So, what do you? Let me ask: are you on the side of the like panic Padres fan? Not panicked, but frustrated Padres fan that they haven't been able to get a sweep, or are you more like, hey, they're winning series, and if they keep doing that, then we're going to be in a good spot?
Probably the second thing you said. I'm glad we won that series. At least it's not the other way around. Because I was worried when the Marlins series came up. Because I was like, I watched your show on Sunday after the Yankee series, and you were talking about the Marlins. I'm pretty happy that we took that series. I mean, kind of an ugly loss today, but I'm sure we'll bounce back and regroup together. And I really hope. One more thing before I go is I really hope Tatis bounces back because I know you've touched base on this. Like he just looks sad at the plate. Like he looks
I've seen it
depressed.
a little the last couple days. It's been better, but yeah, this season, yeah.
He just looks depressed, and I'm just like, I hope he's okay. Like I know he's Tatis, he'll bounce back, but I've been just worried about him recently.
Yeah. All right, Carter. Thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, with Tatis, like that's another guy that we know he has the talent, and he was hitting some balls hard in this Marlins series. So, and I'm seeing like again his load before getting to that swing, arriving at that swing, it has looked a little bit different. It seems like he's searching, he's trying things out. And the other day, I wasn't watching intently today at every Tatis at bat, but yesterday, what I noticed was it looked a little bit more like 2021, where he led the National League in home runs. And guess what? He was hitting the ball hard last night. And so I'm taking that and hoping that that can continue. I'd like the two hand follow through more, but sometimes when you're swinging at that ball outside, you can't do that all the time. So I understand that. I don't know. Is he limited? Can he not do the two hand follow through on a swing? I don't know. But I just noticed from 2021, especially that Gonsolin homer that he hit out of Dodger Stadium, it was a two hand finish. So that's all I would add there. Um, but yeah, these three games, I mean, I don't know. I yes, frustrated a little bit with the offense, but to be honest, I'm happy that they took 2 out of 3 and they're a game over 500. It's May 29th. We'll see what happens with the whole Darvish health thing, right? Um, and I'm still wanting to look at it from the positive, like we haven't gotten Musgrove going consistently yet. The rotation's been better. Tatis hasn't going consistently yet. Manny hasn't gotten going consistently yet. Now, you could spin that negatively and be like, well, they're not going to get going, but we don't know that. I'm still going to look at, hey, these guys are really good baseball players. You're getting contributions from other guys. And so I'm going to take that and be like, okay, well, what if those big guys can produce? And now look what we can do. Now maybe we can go on that run. And so maybe I'm getting into the trap of last year where I'm waiting for it to happen. But still, it's May 29th. If we get to the All-Star break and it's still like this, then probably I'll change my tune. But right now, I'm looking at as like the bullpen's been really good. rotation as of late, for the most part, it's been good. There's contributors on offense. They're still finding ways to win more series than lose series, right? As much as you might want to hate when Shildt brings up the 7 out of 9 series, that's accurate. They've won 7 out of 9 series, and I will take that. Now, I'd like a couple sweeps in there or a sweep in there to be, 4 games over 500, not 1 or, whatever it would be. But yeah, I would take 7 out of 9 at the same time as well. So I'm going to get to those Shildt comments here in a little bit. I see John wants to join the show, though. What's up, man?
Nothing much, man. How you been?
Doing all right. How are you feeling? Are you the optimistic Padres fan or we won 7 out of 9 series, but we haven't swept anyone, and Manny continues to not produce great, and we're just not getting that production that we want out of the star offensive players right now?
I mean, I think I think I'm more on the optimistic side, quite frankly. I kind of been, I've been kind of just trying to understand, I guess, kind of the dynamics of what's going on here, everybody's opinions and everything like that. And I definitely lean on more the optimistic side because let's just take a look at where the national broadcast teams wanted us to be, I guess, in 4th place, right? They thought that there was a lot riding on Manny, Tatis, Bogarts from producing. And that, to me, at least seemed like was the make or break of whether or not we were going to be a good team or a bad team. And even if they did get hot, we still didn't have a whole lot going for us in the bottom of the lineup, and so I'm the optimist, quite frankly, because I mean, while yes, we haven't swept any series and we haven't had many long winning streaks, I think we haven't had more than 4-game winning streak or whatever. We're still a game above 500, and we faced a lot of hard teams, and we have definitely shown some fight more than last year. I mean, this is any talk of, oh, this team is showing signs of 2023 or whatever. I think it's a little ridiculous right now because it is a completely new team, and it has a completely different energy than what we have seen in the past. And on top of that, I mean, we are not the Yankees. We are not the Phillies. We are not the Braves. So I just want to, I just wish Padre fans would kind of realize that. I think they're kind of buying too much into the hype of, oh, we're such a good team on paper, therefore we have to have, this XYZ, you know what I mean? And it seems to me that we are just not that team. And we are a wild card team. The quicker that Padres fans realize that, the more I feel like confident we can become, knowing that we just took 2 out of 3. Great, that's awesome. Marlins are a big league team, just as much as the Padres are. So the fact that we keep winning these series, I think that the numbers will definitely reflect a team that is a lot different than last year. I think so, for sure.
Yeah, and so what I'll say, okay, they've won, I think, 12 of their last 16. And if you do the math on that throughout an entire season, where do you land? I think it's over 80 wins, and it's less than 90, but it's between 80 and 90 wins. And what is that? That's a wild card team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying they're going to win 12 of 16 the rest of the way. That's really good baseball. For the most, or excuse me, I didn't say 12. They haven't won 12 out of 16. 16 and 12 in their last 28 is what I meant to say. Okay,
Yeah.
so that makes more sense.
All good.
And so that's a wild card team. Like, that pace would be a wild card team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to sweep a little bit there, but you could get swept in some cases as well. So I understand the frustration there, but I'm looking at the results, which is what I care about the most. And I'm seeing the Padres have good pitching, and they're consistently winning series. And they've won series against the Dodgers. They've won series against the Braves. I know they got swept by the Rockies. I know they lost the series to the Yankees.
Yeah, beat
But
the
guess
Cubs
what?
twice.
It's the Yankees. And yeah, can't get swept by the Rockies. I understand that. But it's May 29th, the National League. And I know that we get so focused on the Padres, but what matters is how the Padres are doing, of course. And I know it's May 29th, so it sounds ridiculous, but what are the other teams around the Padres doing? The National League is not stacked. There's a couple of teams, the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Braves, if you want to include them, but they lost Acuna and he wasn't even performing that well.
Penelson's not
But
doing
sure,
so
you
hot.
can okay, but put them in there, whatever. After that, the Padres are in the group of okay, they're playing, around 500 baseball. It's
Yeah,
not like there's 6 teams and then the Padres are 10 games back of that. That's not the case.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
I'm looking at it that way. And if fans want to live frustrated and pissed off all the time, then go ahead. But May 29th, that's just not where if it's September, okay. But if it's May 29th, I'm just going to choose to not live that way.
Yeah, and I mean, if anything, it's like, I mean, gosh, what 2023 has taught me is that, I can't let 9 men on a field ruin my entire day. You know what I mean? It's just, it's mind numbing, and it's just not good for anybody's mental sanity. For just to give that much energy and time to, such a, I guess, wasted energy of thinking about it so much. You know what I mean? Again, 2023 was a very, very frustrating year. I for sure. Um, but I think we need to understand as a fan base that we are going to be the underdogs no matter what. We were the underdogs in 2022, and look where it got us, by counting us out, by everyone counting us out and believing in ourselves that we as a team and as a fan base thrive on that. We are the underdogs, and we are in this conversation for a playoff spot. Now, granted, it's only a third way through the season. It's not a big deal. But it's I think we have a lot to look forward to. And again, all it takes is one 4-game or 5-game hitting streak. That's it, honestly. And then we are in a completely different conversation right now, in terms of where we are in the standings, in terms of where we are or whatever. Also, the Dodgers are not running away with this division either. I'm not, obviously the Dodgers are the Dodgers. They've just had a bad stretch for a little bit, but they're 6.5 games up, right? This is only a third way through the season, guys. I'm more optimistic than I've ever been at this time last season. And all it takes is one or two things to really, really click, either Tatis or Manny or the combination of the two, to really just kind of find their zone. And we're in a better position than most teams, quite frankly.
Yeah. What I would
great.
say as well, like, let's look at the schedule. So I posted the other day about the 19-game stretch the Padres are on. They just started after the Yankee series. Marlins, Royals, who are good. So I don't want people to think, oh, it's the
Sure.
Royals. But it's a road
Yeah.
series, and the Padres play well on the road. The Angels, the D-backs, the A's, the Mets, who, oh my gosh, the Mets are S-storm right now. I don't know if you've seen what's happening with that, with
Yes.
Jorge Lopez and all that. But it's a 19-game stretch, and so far they're 2-1 on it, and hopefully by the end of the road trip, after they get back from Anaheim, they will have won those 2 series, and we will be looking even better,
Yeah.
And again, like sweeping the Angels would be nice, and sweeping another team, or getting at least one sweep in this 19-game stretch would be really nice. Because that's 3 games over 500 in a 3-game stretch over 1. Like that's a big difference there.
Yeah. All it takes is one. All it takes is one good month.
I think what we got to realize is, okay, what was, like you brought up, before the season, what were the expectations? A wild card team? Maybe. I think most people were like, yeah, wild card team. And what is that? 84 wins? Whatever
Yeah.
that is. Okay. The Padres are a game over 500. That's around that. They got to play better, of course, like I've said a million times already.
Got
But
hit.
they're around that right now. And they've had a tough schedule so far. The Braves, the Dodgers, there's teams that have been tough. The Phillies, obviously. It's been a little bit tough, and they've been competitive in most of those games. And they've won series against the Dodgers. And they're a game over 500. And I haven't mentioned that Bogarts is out, and he never got hot. So, there's a lot of things that have been going against the Padres so far, and they're a game over 500.
Yeah.
I'm sure that I haven't looked at the comments yet, but I'm sure the comments are like, Ben, you're an idiot. This team sucks right now. But look, I'm looking at the results, and I think there's an easy case to be made that this team could go on a run, or a tough stretch is behind them now, and they have a little bit of an easier way, and we could see that right out. And they're in a fine spot right now considering the circumstances.
Yeah, and I think also, I think they were talking about on the broadcast today about, the trade deadline and everything like that. And, obviously some rumor, or not rumors, but more of, what's going on with whatever teams or whatever, such as the Mets. The Mets are obviously a big target for a lot of that trade conversation. We could be the Mets right now. We could be 8 games under 500. Or we could even be possibility of trading our big guys and stuff like that. But no, we decided to, with the circumstances that we were in, we decided to basically, double down and get Luis Arias as a result. And it seems to me that there is no compromising what we want from this team. Is that we want a playoff run. We want to get into the dance and see where this takes us. You know what I mean? We are in it for the long haul. We are in it to win it. And again, we're in a good position, guys. Let's take a look at the standings. Let's get out of our Padres bubble. Let's look at where we're at, and we're in a good spot, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. All right, John. Thank you, man.
Thanks, man.
Have a good night. Appreciate it. Yeah. So before I get to the Mike Shildt comments, want to give a great shout out to some of the partners of the show. Already hit on Gaglione and Bros. Main location is on Friars Road. They're inside Petco Park, down the third baseline. Great cheesesteak fries, cheesesteaks, cheese fries, garlic fries. It's great stuff. Check them out. Breaking Tea, Padres, Aztecs, Wave shirts and sweatshirts. Click the link in the description for them. They just released a new Jeremiah Estrada shirt, so you can check that out. Again, link in the description. Underdog Fantasy, 50% deposit match up to $250, and you can claim a special pick when you use code Talking Friars or click that link in the description there. And then SeatGeek, same code, Talking Friars, $20 off your first order there when you use that code with SeatGeek. Great site to use. They can tell you what if they think it's a good value or a bad value. So check it out, SeatGeek. All right, let's get to the Mike Shildt audio, because instead of the team on the field, it feels like a lot of the conversation is on what Mike Shildt says post game. So,
is he okay?
Courtesy of Marty Caswell, by the way.
He had a little bit of tightness in his hamstring. Wasn't overly significant, but felt it. And then we, still coming out good. Was pitching pretty well, but once he had the long inning in the third, just made sense to go ahead and go to the bullpen.
Not the cleanest game today.
No, it wasn't.
Since you had one. What did you see? What did you think?
You pretty much reiterate your words. It just wasn't very clean. We haven't had many of those. Didn't help ourselves. Now, also they had a pretty good approach. They came in, took some good at bats against Kolwick and De Los Santos. Had nice idea what they were doing there and executed their plan, and got to give them credit for that. But we just weren't clean today. Weren't clean enough.
When did the hamstring start bothering you, and do you expect it to linger? Like what the next?
I don't know. He's going to get some testing, as you would expect. He felt it. Nothing extreme. Felt fine. Felt like he could go. And then the long inning in the third, started to feel like he was maybe starting to feel a little compromised. So we obviously did something about it.
This season, when you guys have.
All right, this is where that was just the start of it. This is where AJ Cassavell starts to ask about like maybe being in a rough patch, thinking that they're going to get on a run, but then they can't get on that run. And what I think he was referencing is can't get that sweep. And so here is AJ Cassavell on that.
Have kind of hit some rough patches. You've kind of fought back with resiliency, and then there have been a few times where it looks like you're about to take off and haven't quite hit that gear yet. What do you make anything of that, or is that just?
See, I kind of take a little exception with that. I really do. Every time we lose a game, we can't say it's like there's a rough patch when we just won a series. I don't get that. And you win 7 out of 9 series. I get it. We lost. It wasn't a crisp game, but I don't buy into that. I can't support that particular narrative.
Can I
Hold on, AJ. I'll get back to AJ Cassavell. But that point that Shildt makes there about essentially like it feels like, and I agree with Shildt, where it feels like these big picture questions are asked by the media. And I'm not, they have a job to do and they've got stories to write. And I know that Kevin Acee writes a lot about the Padres. So Dennis Lin, AJ Cassavell, they do, I love reading their stuff. But it does feel like when there's a loss, when the Padres win a series and they lose the series finale, let's say, it feels like it's a big picture question instead of just asking, okay, what didn't go well today and having it be a today thing. It feels like it ends up being a big picture thing. And that was a big picture question from AJ. And at the same time, like I understand the question, but I'll admit, I do get tired of that a little bit as well, where it feels like a lot of this is big picture stuff when it's 1 of 162. And yeah, Manny made a couple of errors today, and Toddy had that throw that, the ball goes in the dugout after Crony can't get it, and the offense wasn't good. Yeah, it's 1 of 162. The Padres took 2 out of 3 in this series, and I have gotten that feeling as well. I'm along with Shildt here. I have gotten that feeling where it feels like when there's a loss, and yes, today was a bad loss, but when there's a loss, it feels like there's these big picture questions that are asked. And it's like, this is one game. Shildt has already talked about he's already answered big picture things. So I understand how he gets frustrated with this as well. And he's the manager of a team. He wants to be optimistic, and they've won 7 of the last 9, and he'll go in talking about this. So I understand totally where he's coming from with this, with the frustration.
Clarify then,
You can
because I
absolutely
don't think
clarify.
this was a rough patch. I think you guys were
Yeah.
playing pretty good baseball the last 3 games, and
Right.
you haven't necessarily been able to kind of really hit that stride that's taken you guys off this season. I'm just wondering if that roller coaster, in your opinion, is just kind of the nature of the
Again, I take exception with this roller coaster. I want to ride every roller coaster I can ever get on winning 7 out of 9 series.
I'll pause that right there. And I agree with that from Shildt. I will do that as well. I will get on any roller coaster that's 7 of 9 series because you got a winning record. But where I think what AJ Cassavell's point was, to be fair to him and to Padres fans that might be disappointed in this team so far, it's you win 7 of 9, but you're 1 game over 500. You didn't have sweeps in there. So it doesn't seem like you're playing amazing baseball because even though you won 7 of 9, some fans don't want to hear that because you're 16 and 12, not whatever it would be if you got a sweep in there or you got a couple of sweeps in there. If you didn't get swept by the Rockies, right?
I'm here for that ride. I'm all on board. Because if you go 6-4 the whole season, you win 96 games. So I do understand the question. You talk about taking off, but gosh, man, I don't have a great answer for winning 7 out of 9 series not being good enough.
Hey, Mike, which hamstring is it? I'm sorry.
I believe it's his.
Okay. So that was really the Shildt comments there. He may have said something a little bit more to Kevin Acee. So I will continue to play this. But yeah, that was really the comments. And I think there were some fans that were like, he's staying Mr. Positive and denying the baseball that's being played. And people want Shildt to be accountable and say, we need to be better. I may be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure in this press conference here, he admitted that today was not a clean baseball game. But he's also right in saying that not many of those happen. And he's right to say that they've won 7 of their last 9 series. They are, again, like they're a game over 500. It feels like, and it's such an everyday sport, it feels like when fans are reacting to one game, and I'm a fan as well, so I got to put myself in this too. But it just feels like, and social media is not fully, reality. There's fans that don't have it, that don't feel like they have to put their opinion out there about everything. Um, but there's just that feeling like, is this team 10 games under 500? That's what it feels like sometimes. When there's a bad game, 1 of 162, are they 10 games under 500? No, they're not. They're a game over. So I think let's take a deep breath and, realize the circumstances the Padres have been in, and let's realize that. You can be frustrated, but I feel like sometimes it's just too much and too over the top and too far.
Yeah.
Like, how difficult is it to sweep a team?
It's hard. It's the big leagues. It's not easy. I mean, clearly we're ready to go out and to, AJ's point, continue to take off. And we didn't today. Their guy's pretty good. Just come off a complete game, threw the ball well. They had some good at bats. They made their plays. Didn't play our best and didn't win a game.
As you point out, these guys are human, right? So these games happen over the course of 162.
They just do.
So do you just, like, when this game happens, is there things that are addressed, like or
what would we address? That's the part and again, I don't want to be, I've admitted the game wasn't clean. I'm not alibiing. The game was not clean. Wasn't our best effort. No question about it. What would also be nice if we had conversations about, hey, the team's played well. They won 7 out of 9. This looks pretty good. They played clean. Bullpen was good. Those kind of questions. So I don't know what I would address to a group that's playing really good baseball that just didn't have their best day. I don't know what to say to that.
And I agree again with Mike Shildt. I mean, like, what is there to address? We want Mike Shildt to address Manny and say, you need to get it together? You think Manny doesn't know that already? Of course he does. What is there to address? Have a team meeting, offense, step it up with runners in scoring position. So I agree with that as well. I understand the question from Kevin. Like, don't get me wrong. I understand, because you're trying to get quotes from Mike Shildt. That's part of your job. I totally understand that. But some of these questions, it's like, well, what do you want Mike Shildt to say? That's all. So I understand both sides, if that makes sense. But if I have to lean on one side today, I'd be leaning on Mike Shilt's side today. That's what I've got on that. All right. Let's get to the chat. I know there's a lot of comments here. Any super chats, you jump to the front of the line. Supports the channel. I appreciate that. My laptop might be dying here in a little bit, so I'm not going to be able to get to everyone, but I'm going to try to get to the ones that stand out to me here. Let's see. Oh, JD's third. Here we go. How fortunate is the Friar faithful to have Manny for the next decade in San Diego? I think pretty fortunate. Is there some things that piss me off sometimes? Like, I'd like him to hustle a little bit more in some cases. So I don't need him hustling down the line on a ground ball to second base every time, every game of the season. I understand. It's a long year. Yeah, there's some things that frustrate me sometimes. But at the same time, Manny's still a talented baseball player, and I think there's a lot of teams in baseball that would like to have Manny Machado on their team if they could have that opportunity. Maybe not the price tag, but to have that guy on your team, I think the Padres are fortunate. Devin says, still want a little more production from the offense, especially the 2 games prior. I felt they could have blown the games wide open. That's totally, especially game 1. That's totally fair. Yeah, got to be better there. Irie says, I was able to make it today, scored on some $6 tickets. Nice. Got a ball thrown to him by Fernando. Irie says, my boy got his first ball thrown to him by Fernando in the Crone zone. Besides that, we're not meant to sweep a team this year, I think. No, they're going to sweep a team this year. I think they will, yeah. They're going to go on a 5-game winning streak, I think, at some point this year. I hope. I think they can sweep a team. But it sounds like you had a great experience other than the, final score of today's game. Devin asks, what's the ideal road trip record this weekend and the Angels series? I'd say 4-2. I agree. Yeah, I'd say 4-2. If that's sweeping the Angels and winning one of the two in Kansas City, okay. I don't care what the combination looks like. I care, hey, 4-2, 3-3. It's on the road, so I don't think it would be the biggest deal, but yet you want to keep climbing above 500. You don't want to be a game over or at 500 or a game below. You want to do as best as you can to start, even if it's one series at a time. After every series, be one more game over 500. That would be really nice because they're probably going to get swept again at some point this year. That happens. Those guys on the other side are trying as well. Yeah, so the one thing I didn't really totally get from Shildt, the 6 out of 10 thing, I understand, like he's saying that that's a really good record if you win 6 out of 10, but the Padres are 5-5. They're not 6-4 in their last 10. But the whole winning series thing, 7 out of 9, that's a valid point, I think. You like sweeps in there again, but you win series consistently like that all season long, you're gonna be a wild card team. Padre Phil says this team ain't making no playoffs. All right, if you want to believe that. I mean, if Manny and Tatis don't get it going, then that's definitely going to make it harder. And they might not make the playoffs. But I still have faith that at least one of the two is going to really get it going. And I'm liking what I'm seeing out of the pitching staff. And the National League, it's not stacked right now. Things can change come, July, August, whatever. But right now, it's not stacked. I feel ridiculous looking at the standings right now. But I'm just trying to prove my point a little bit here about teams in the National League here. Let's go to the wild card standings. If it wants to load. Okay. So Phillies, Brewers is a team I should have probably thrown in there. 32-23. So Phillies, Dodgers, Brewers. Then the wild card teams are the Braves, the Giants, and the Padres. And the Giants, Padres, Cubs, Cardinals, Pirates, Nationals, D-backs. We're all separated by 3 games. The Giants have the second wild card spot. They're 29-28. We have the third at 30-29. Cubs are at 28-28. Cardinals are at 27-27. Pirates are at 26-30. The Nats are at 25-29. D-backs are at 25-30. There's not a lot of great teams in the National League. And again, they face some tough teams, including the Brewers. That's another team I didn't mention earlier. They face the Brewers. They face the Dodgers. They face the Phillies. They face the Braves. No Bogarts, and he didn't get going when he was healthy, really. Manny hasn't gotten going. Tatis hasn't really gotten going. They've had injuries in the rotation, and they're a game over 500. That's how I'm looking at this. AJ, thanks for the super chat. Much appreciated. All right, let's see any more in the chat here that stands out. Yeah, that's true. I mean, we learned that lesson, Raul, last year, right? Every game counts at the end. Raul says they will regret having lost this game. I mean, Darvish goes out with an injury. I point to other games this year other than this game that they're going to regret losing. I mean, you regret losing every game, but I think of other games before I think of this one, to be honest, so far this year. But yeah, every game counts, no doubt. But a game in which your starter gets hurt, there's other games that we could point to. Let's see here. Alfredo says, thank God we have a road trip coming. Well, yeah, Padres play better on the road. So in some cases, yeah. You definitely have a point there. And I don't care if they win at home. You want them to win at home. But like winning at home, winning on the road, I want them to make the playoffs and then see what happens when that happens. You know, of course, you want them to win at home. You don't want to be disappointed when you're buying tickets and you're spending time going to the games and you're sitting on the trolley and then the trolley, there's mechanical issues. So you have to get off the trolley for 20 minutes and sit there and get on another one. And you just have an extended trip home. I'm sure some people experience that on, what was that, Sunday. It's frustrating if you can't win those games, right? I think they won Sunday. Yeah. But it's frustrating. I get it. But what I care about the most is them making the postseason. If it's a really good road team to get there, then that's what it is. I disagree with the no sense of urgency thing. I mean, how can you tell that? I mean, there's been games where they've come back, and I think that's a pretty good sense of urgency from this team. You might say from Shilt's comments there isn't that, but if you're not on Shilt's side, then go to the players' comments in the clubhouse, and they're saying things that aren't the same as Shildt. So I think you have to agree that they feel like there's urgency there from their comments. So I don't know what to tell you there. Let's see here. Okay. So Bolo Dolomite says it's losing to the losing teams. These are the games that will push the Padres over the top. If they're in the playoff picture, you don't want to miss the playoffs by 4 games swept by the Rocks / today. That's fair. And the Padres, they missed the playoffs by a couple of games last year. And there was the Royals games, the Pirates games, Rockies, Nationals. There were games where, series, definitely win that series. Take advantage of that. Be better with runners in scoring position. No doubt about that. And you could qualify the Rockies certainly under that. No doubt. And so, yeah, I'm frustrated when they get swept by the Rockies. I'm frustrated when they lose to those teams. But I think I'll be more frustrated come September if we look back and they're not in a great spot. But I'm just looking at it right now, and right now they're in a playoff spot. They're right in the thick of things. They're a game over 500. There's some encouraging signs through playing in the not idealist, if that's a word, the most ideal situations. So that's just how I feel on it. And we're just going to have to agree to disagree on some of this. Well, this is a pretty good point by Diego. Says people were saying we need to take care of bad teams and then we win a series and they complain. There you go. Yep. That's some Padres fans for you, or at least the vocal fans on social media. I don't mean to bash all Padres fans. I love Padres fans. You're critical because you're passionate. You care. I love that. But we're just going to have to disagree on this a little bit. But no, that's a good point, Diego. Like, the Padres do what you, and I think Shildt is kind of at, he would definitely agree with that point, I think, too. You want us to take care of the Marlins of the world. We win a series, and then there's questions about rough patches and all that. So, yeah, I totally agree with that point. That's a funny one. Eddie says Padres are treading water and playing 500 ball. Imagine if Machado, Tatis, and Xander each played 10% better. How good we would be. Better than right now. And that's where my optimistic viewpoint goes to. Yeah. Lizzie says by May last season, I could tell the team was complacent, wasn't going to make it. This season, I have more hope, but it's dwindling. See, I'm not getting that with this team. I see this team as, sure, there's like main characters that were problems last year, but I'm looking at this team totally different than what I saw last year. All right, that's going to do it. My laptop's about to die, so that's why I'm going to have to end it here. Talking Friars, episode 602. Padres, they take 2 out of 3 from the Marlins, but you wouldn't think that if you saw some reaction today. But yeah, on to Kansas City. And then the Angels in Anaheim, I would think that there's going to be a lot of Padre fan support there for that series. And then they're going to be back at home, I believe, to face the D-backs. So hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you agreed, we agreed. If you disagreed, we disagreed. But regardless of what side you're on, I love the passion for Padres fans. You guys are the best. Talk to y'all later. See ya.